Welcome everybody to All Time Wrestling, the Extreme Edition. I'm so happy that many of you around the world are starting to receive your product, and I thought I'd shoot this video to explain how this works. Now, what you'll see here today is this beautiful player mat that many of you chose to purchase. It includes Rob Van Dam and Sabu as your feature wrestlers. Obviously, the box set also includes Raven and our own Damien, who is the great big villain of this particular expansion. Now you'll notice this is a small expansion to the original game. The original game is this massive box set called All or Nothing, featuring Andre the Giant, Kurt Angle, Randy Savage, British Bulldog, and 4 other wrestlers, cage matches, the whole 9 yards. If you haven't gotten your hands on this baby, I would really advise you to do so, especially the second edition and shelf side seal of excellence there. Now, on to business. Extreme Edition. You'll notice this is not an unboxing video. I've already unboxed this box and I've organized my cards accordingly. I just wanted to show you a few important things that you should be aware of when you're playing the Extreme Edition. And, you know, in the Extreme Edition, you'll find a bunch of cards, as you'll notice. This box looks small, but it packs a hell of a punch. And it includes a lot of boards, which I'll go through in a second. Now, just to start off, if you've never played All Time Wrestling, this is the basic rule book. It explains all the rules. If you know the rules of All Time Wrestling, there's no need to go through it. We streamlined the rule book. It should be easier to read than the first edition. Fixed a lot of errors. Hopefully there aren't any left. You'll also find an extreme manual. And here what we do is we take every single wrestler and we explain how that wrestler plays, what every single ability means, which we didn't do in the original game. And I think this will really help you understand the abilities of the various wrestlers. It'll also explain how to play the barbed wire exploding death match, which is incredible, one of my favorite matches. And we'll talk about it in a second. Now, the box set will also include this double momentum meter. If you remember the original game, these were not double recessed. And now they are. So, you know, why would you use any other box set apart, or any other momentum meter apart from this? So I'll throw away the old one and use this going forward. You know, you no longer have to kind of get lost with what momentum you have. All right, so now let's talk about how to set this game up. This is not a how to play video. It's really there to kind of explain a few things that might be new to you. But let me start off with how a player board has evolved, really. Now, the old player board, as you see, looked like this, which is a thing of beauty, right? The British Bulldog, you'll notice the 4 abilities right here. You'll notice, you know, the stats of taunting and recovering, and you'll notice the stamina and health bar specific to the British Bulldog. Now, the problem we ran into is whenever we wanted to make adjustments to the British Bulldog, or different gimmicks, or different, you know, even in the campaign, we were always limited because the numbers were not flexible, and this board was not modular. Apart from the fact that it also is less environmentally friendly, you know, weighs heavier, costs more, and as such, we chose to go with a modular board design. Now, it'll look exactly like this. You'll notice that we've removed the health and stamina. It looks exactly like the old board. We removed the health and stamina component, and we've added the health and stamina to its own modular board. And this really allows you to play, for example, Raven in different gimmicks and different styles. Even when we launch a solo campaign for Raven, it'll, you know, there's a lot more that we can do with that character based on the setup. So the way you would set this up, if you have this player mat, you'll just slot in your player board right here, and you'll slot in your health and stamina board right here. Now, you might be thinking, well, the health and stamina board, let me just put this closer to you. You know, it goes all the way up to 20 health, and you might not be able to see it very well here on the camera, but it goes all the way to 19 stamina. You know, that can't be Raven stats. Well, this is the trick, the key to all this, and the new card that we've added to the game, and you'll notice I've separated them here, is this profile card. And let me just move this as close as I can. You'll notice Raven has 14 health, you know, 4 low health, 14 stamina, 4 in terms of low stamina and 15 cards. And obviously it's quote the Raven Nevermore. And we place this profile card right on the board where, in the designated space. And when it says 14 health, that means I just put a cube on the 14 health spot right here. Let me move this closer to you so you're able to see this. And then I will place, instead of placing the low health number on the 4 spot, I'll place it right next to it. So you'll notice this tells you that if your health reaches 4 or less, you're in low health zone. So for example, if imagine during the match, your health goes to 4, now you know that you're in low health. And it's the same concept for the stamina bar. And one more trick I wanted to show you, and this is, Jad actually did it in one of the playthroughs, and I really liked it. Especially when it comes to stamina. You might not remember what your maximum stamina is. I mean, it's right there in front of you, but just in case, to make it easier, what you can do is you can just place any additional cube, like a stamina cube or a white cube here on the number 15. So that means you can never exceed 14. It's a nice little trick. It'll remind you about what your maximum stamina is. And again, just like normal, just like low health stamina, low stamina, sorry. The second your stamina reaches 4 or 3 or 2, you now know you're in the low stamina zone because you're aligned with, or you've gone past this marker right here. So that's an easy way to kind of track your low health and your low stamina. And that's the main change in the game. The other amazing change we've done is no more micro tokens. We've replaced them with these cubes that are much easier to handle. You'll notice, and they have slots for them. And you'll notice here something interesting actually. So in the traditional game, you'll only get one-time abilities. Raven here has an ability that you can use twice during the match. And you'll notice all these kind of different elements of player boards that are really cool that we'll talk about in this video as well. So that's how you set up your player board. That's how it's different from the newer version. And then the other thing about this profile card that's super useful is if you look at the back, it'll tell you what your deck is composed of. You might want to ask, why is that, Mo? Like, that's kind of weird. Don't cards have the names of wrestlers on the back, just like the old version? No, they don't. And number one, it helps you with sleeving. But if I were to unsleeve one of these cards, let's assume it's this one, you'll notice the names of wrestlers are no longer on the back. And you might ask, why did you do that, Mo? Well, it allows us for deck construction, which is something we're building into the game. As more expansions come along, you'll be able to even create your own wrestlers in the future, which doesn't bode well with the names of wrestlers on the back of the cards. It just doesn't work. So you'll notice these cards, by the way, are sleeved. These amazing sleeves are available for anyone who hasn't gotten them yet. It's just RVD kicking Sabu midway through a moonsault. It's just an awesome artwork. So how does this all work? How do I know what my deck is? So you'll notice I've separated these cards. All of them have a gray background, and you'll notice they have an all-time wrestling logo at the bottom and an ATW number next to it. This means that these are cards that are what we call generic cards. These are kicks, punches, suplexes. These are cards used by the majority of wrestlers, what we call a generic deck. And then you'll notice in the other bag that I've separated, let me just bring these out. Yep. You'll notice that, by the way, solo players, these are the campaign profile cards for your extreme wrestlers. You'll also find Special Encounter 12, which I'll talk about in a second. But going back to this, these are the special wrestlers, special cards related to the wrestlers. So these are, unlike the ATW card, you'll find your wrestler's image at the bottom. And you'll notice there's a special number here. So in this case, it's SBU for Sabu 002. And what does this all mean? This sounds complicated. It really isn't. If you just take, for example, Raven's cards, and they're clear to you who Raven is. I mean, it's from the artwork. It's also at the very bottom. It's also coded RVN, so it's really hard to miss what are the Raven cards. You'll notice there are 6, and that equates to the 6 Raven cards here. Well, actually, there's 7, I think. Yeah. So you'll notice there are 7 cards, and they'll be mentioned right here. Raven 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you add these to your deck, and what you'll also do, I mean, all these are cards that don't have a gray background, so they belong to other wrestlers. You can ignore them. And then you'll just go into this profile card, and it'll say right hand, ATW001. So when you want to play in Raven, as Raven, you just find the right hand card and you add it to your deck. The next card on the list, on the profile card, will say punch. The third one's kick to the gut. The fourth is chin lock. So kick to the gut, chin lock, punch, and I'll go on, and I'll start adding more and more cards until I've constructed my deck of 15 cards here. And once I have that deck, I'll shuffle those cards. I'll place them right here in the designated slot, and then my discard pile will be right here if you have the player map. I'll return the profile card. So that's an easy way to set up. So just to recap, you'll place the tokens where they are on your player board. You'll set your health and stamina based on the total health and total stamina on your profile card, and then you'll construct your deck based on the cards listed at the back. Some of them are going to have the ATW number, which means they're generic, which means they're the colors with the cards with the black or gray color at the back, and some of them will include your wrestler, in this case Raven's cards, and it'll have Raven's images and Raven's logo and code at the bottom of the card, and you shuffle those, and that's your deck. So that's how you set up. I just wanted to go through that because that's extremely important if you're returning, or even if you're new to ATW. That's how you set up a game. It took a lot of time to explain it, but it's really super simple. The other thing that I wanted to mention is you'll find 3 cards here called the flock. These are specific to the Raven character. You just shuffle them, place them next to you, place them anywhere. And these represent the flock, Raven's flock, and you can, using the ability of the flock here in the bottom right, you can call on one of these once a match to help you, and each one does his own thing. You can read it on the card. It's pretty cool. So that's how more or less the game plays in terms of the cards. There's a special encounter 12. If you haven't read it already, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but it's just a teaser of what's to come in the ATW universe. One last thing I wanted to mention from a Raven point of view, or some of the other wrestlers like Sabu, is if you're facing Raven as in a solo game and you have the solo pack, or you have all or nothing, you can use this Raven ability, and you would just simply place it here, just like any solo or NPC ability. But also you'll find additional Raven abilities. So if you're playing as Raven, just in a 2-player game, you have this extra ability called Mind Games, and you trigger it after an opponent rolls an attack die, and you reduce the result of that die roll by 1. So you play Mind Games with your opponent. And the way you use this is at the beginning of the match, right before the match starts in the setup, you may choose to replace any of your player board abilities with this Mind Games card. It'll tell you the rules here. So replace Reversal, Psychological Warfare, or the Flock. If you replace Raven's rules, remove Abbott from the Flock deck. It's self-explanatory. You don't have to use it, but it's just a way to switch things up and have a different strategy for the game. All right, so we're done with player setup, done with all the cool things that other wrestlers do, and what Raven's Flock entails. I wanted to show you some of these cards. So these are the, we're back with weapons. I mean, this is an extreme edition. You'll notice these are really cool weapons like thumbtacks and tables. And, if you're not new to ATW, I think you're familiar with them. What you're not familiar with are these exploding barbed wire deathmatch cards. And you'll notice they have slots here. And And what you would do is you would place each one of those cards, these barbed wire exploding deathmatch cards, on to the designated spots, right? Usually there's 6. That's for hardcore matches. For barbed wire deathmatch, I mean, with the stretch goals you guys unlocked, there's an additional spot here, and these are the 8 cards that are always available for you to use. The only thing that goes away is the barbed wire table. Once you've used that, it's out of the game. But if you use the barbed wire bat, for example, you would do 3 damage to your opponent. You'd gain 4 momentum, and I'll talk about this marker in a second. But the card goes back. It's not disposed of. Now, what the heck is that bomb sign? Well, it's a barbed wire deathmatch, right? So it's nasty, it's brutal, and you'll notice in the box set that you have this bad boy, which you can place in the middle of the box. You'll start off at the marker of 25 minutes. So you've started the match with 25 minutes. And obviously there's a double resource board if you've noticed. So you'll do that. And by the way, some of what I'm about to explain is written on the board. So whenever you use one of these weapons, you will move the marker by the number next to the bomb. So in this case, you'll go down from 25 to 23 if it was a barbed wire chair. If I use the barbed wire bat, I'll go down to by 3. So that is one way to move the tracker down. And this tracker is the bomb that's about to explode after 25 minutes of warfare. And the bomb will deal 8 damage to both wrestlers, which is quite brutal, and I'll talk about the consequences of that. But going back to how this game works, the other thing that you do is anytime you discard a card, so let's say you use a card and it's successful, and you discard it, or you use it to re-roll a dice. Remember, you can discard cards to re-roll dice, or you use it in another card to reverse, for example, reverse a move. You discard 2 cards. That always brings down the timer by the number of cards that you've discarded. So anytime a card is discarded, whether it's defense or offense, or anytime a weapon's used, this marker goes down. And if it hits 0, as I mentioned, it deals 8 damage to each wrestler, which is quite brutal. If it deals 8 damage to you and your health is at 0 and you've already used your Elixir card, which I'll talk about in a second, then it's the end of the game for you. If both wrestlers find themselves in the same situation, the match continues just like a regular match until one wrestler pins the other. So, in a nutshell, if this goes to 0, and if someone's health is at 0 and they've already used their Elixir card, they lose, unless the other wrestler is in the same situation. All right, so what is this Elixir card, and why is it missing from my box set? Okay, so in your box set, you'll find at least 1 Elixir card. Some of you will find 2, some of you will find 1. Those who found 2 probably got it in an extra bag. The deal is every wrestler is supposed to have 1 of those, and there was a mess up with our communication with the manufacturer, unfortunately. And what happened is some of the box sets only got 1 of these Elixir cards. And we'll ship it to you obviously once we've asked our manufacturers to start manufacturing this card. But until we get there, there's a very easy situation, an easy fix for this. So this just basically says that if your health reaches 0 at any time, or reaches 1 in this case, sorry, your health never goes to 0 in all-time wrestling. You just flip this card. It's a one-time use where you discard it and you gain 12 health. So it's like a second life in the match. So each wrestler is supposed to have 1 of those. If you only have 1 card and you're waiting for your second card, which will be delivered maybe in a few months, you can just use a health pack or a nanobot as a replacement, and you can just pretend that it has 12 health instead of 6. You discard it and you gain 12 health. The other way you can do this is you can place the Elixir card as part of the weapons here or in the middle, and each wrestler will have a token of a different color. So my opponent will have yellow or gray or whatever color you fancy. I'll have the white color, and that means when I use my Elixir card, I'll just dispose my token, and when he or she uses her Elixir card, she discards her token, and that's how we know we've both used our Elixir cards. Very simple, to the point. Apologies again if you've been affected by this, but I don't think it'll impact your gameplay by much, hopefully, if you just adopt what we just mentioned. And again, it really sucks that this happened, and I apologize if you're one of the people who got affected by this. But apart from that, this is how the game works. I hope you guys have a blast playing this barbed wire exploding death match. I mean, I've had a few people email me already saying this is the greatest match mode they've played in all-time wrestling. So hopefully you guys really will enjoy it. Please don't forget to rate us on Board Game Geek once you've played this. Rate ATW, rate the Extreme Edition. If you have any questions, just post it on our Facebook group or ask us, email us, and we're usually good at responding. I hope you'd agree. Thank you so much, everyone who's backed this amazing product, and we really look forward to releasing the Rumble edition. I'll be shooting another video about it, so just to show you what we have planned. I'm super excited about it. Thank you so much. Have a lovely, lovely weekend.